Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. Very rarely do we get cards like the One Ring, cards where you could put it in any deck and you could see it upgrading that deck. Well, in Edges of Eternity, we are getting a lot of cards that I could honestly see going in a plethora of archetypes and just making that deck better. So today we're going to talk about those cards. A lot of these cards can go in a plethora of decks that have already been built, and they're actually not that hard to include because a lot of them are going to be lands. So let's get right into the video. Don't forget to click on all those links in the description down below. You can get a free $15 whenever you click on the Whatnot link, 10% off all of your Tolarian library proxies, and additionally there's a Patreon if you guys want to support me. Another thing that really supports me is liking, commenting, and subscribing, so if you're doing that, I really appreciate you. Now let's get into this list, if you will. First card I want to talk about today is the Eternity Elevator. This is a 5 CMC legendary artifact spacecraft that just taps to add 3 mana to your mana pool, so it's just a solid mana rock. And then if we're able to station this for 20 plus, we can add X mana of any one color to our mana pool, where X is the number of charge counters on the Eternity Elevator. So this is just a mana rock that does mana rock things, and then eventually if you get enough power on the battlefield to station this up past 20, it's going to tap equal to the amount of charge counters on it. This can go in a plethora of decks. If you're finding that your deck can just generate 20 plus power very quickly, whether it's a power matter strategy, whether it's a go wide strategy, I think you could put this in your deck and it's just going to upgrade it out of the gate. Now your Gilded Lotus can tap for 20 mana in the late game. We need cards that scale in Commander and push us over the edge to win, and this is one of them. And honestly, you don't get punished for running it because it's also just a 5 CMC mana rock that taps for 3 mana, which is not a terrible card. The next card we're talking about is the Endstone. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this card because a ton of other creators have already mentioned it, but the Endstone is completely busted, and I don't think I have to sell you guys on this. This is a 7 CMC colorless artifact, so it can go in any deck that's legendary. It says whenever you play a land or cast a spell, you get to draw a card. And then it says at the beginning of your end step, your life total becomes half your starting life total rounded up. This is kind of insane because you can use effects that allow you to pay life to take advantage of this, right? You could just pay a ton of life with Wall of Blood, go down to 1 life. I mean, that's pretty risky, but we don't play lightning bolts in Commander, right? Somebody does. That guy's a psycho. Don't talk to him. Anyway, go down to 1 life, and then at our end step, we go back to 20. So now we can do some really cool shenanigans by sacrificing Wall of Blood to draw a ton of cards with like our greater good effects or a land we're going to talk about here in a second. And then your life total just goes right back up to its original life total, which again, it sounds like a downside, but in Commander, we don't really care about going back to 20 life. Oh no, right? And then the effect to just draw cards whenever you're casting spells, it goes in Creature Storm decks, it goes in Storm decks. This can go in literally any deck that generates 7 mana pretty consistently, and both of those archetypes do that well, along with a plethora of other artifacts or archetypes, including artifacts, right? So again, I don't think I have to sell you guys on this card. It's just kind of busted. The Donsire Sunstar Dreadnought. This is a 5 CMC legendary artifact spacecraft that has station. It also does have a power and toughness in it, so it can be your commander, but again, I favor this in the 99. We can crew it up to 10, and it says whenever you attack, Donsire deals 100 damage to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. So it's just straight up removal. And then it says once we crew it to 20, you get a 20/20. Again, this is very good in those aggro decks that just kind of make 20 power on the board, and now you get a 20/20 spacecraft that's going to remove a creature every time it attacks. This also goes insane with Stuffy Doll effects that just redirect the damage it's dealing straight to a player's face. So there's a lot of ways to abuse this, and again, if we're just playing this in an aggro deck, you get solid removal that in the late game turns into a 20/20. In Commander, again, you want to be able to turn your early game threats into late game monsters, and this is a card that does that, and also it just has a lot of utility because getting 10 power on the board in an aggro strategy is not going to be hard at all. Next, we're moving on to lands. The first land I want to talk about is the green one. This is a Vengo Awakening Heaven. This is basically just a Gaia's Cradle that enters tapped, and then we have to make sure it has 12 charge counters on it. Then we get an ability to pay 1 green and add 1 green for each creature we control. Essentially a fair Gaia's Cradle, but again, a fair Gaia's Cradle is still super broken. Put this in any go wide strategy and cut a forest, and you've just upgraded that deck substantially, especially when lands are not hard to find in green. This can be a very, very consistent way to find it. I don't think this card's going to be super budget, but I don't think it's going to be as expensive as Gaia's Cradle, right? And it's just going to upgrade those mono green strategies or just any green strategy that generates a ton of creatures, and I think that's a plethora of decks. Another card that I'm super excited for is Susar Sankundi Void Altar. Probably butchered that, but the card's still amazing. This is the black version. If we crew it up to 12, we get the ability to pay 2, 1 in a black, to pay 2 life, and sacrifice a creature. Draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power. Activate only as a sorcery. As someone who loves playing Power Matter strategies, cutting a swamp to add something that, like a greater good effect that doesn't cause me to discard anything, and it's on a land, I mean, it's just kind of insane to me. So I don't know why you wouldn't put this in your deck. And I think I could see myself building around cards like this, especially if I'm including multiple of them, right? If I want Susar in the deck along with a Vengo, I can include cards that allow my lands to become untapped, and then that allows me to play other lands that come untapped because the whole strategy is built on my lands coming in untapped, and it just opens the door for a lot of brewing potential that adds a ton of power to the deck. Speaking about a ton of power, Kavaron Memorial World. I know, butchering these names, but I'm doing my best here. This is the red one, and I think the red one is actually a sleeper. I am looking for a ton of ways to just add incidental mass haste to a lot of my decks, and this does exactly that, and it's kind of repeatable too. You can pay 1 and a red, and then it says sacrifice a land. Create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token, then create creatures you control, get +1 and gain haste until end of turn. Now you do have to sacrifice a land, but whenever you're doing this, 9 times out of 10, you're winning the game, right? You just need your haste enabler to go off and then win, and also it's pumping all your creatures as well. I could see myself running this in strategies like Cloud. I don't know if you guys have seen my Cloud deck, but basically it has you using Sword of Feast and Famine and your Bear Umbra effects to untap all of your lands, and then on the second main phase you play an additional combat step and cast more artifacts or more equipment that come in and equip themselves, so living weapon effects. That way we can attack again and draw more cards because Cloud allows us to draw cards equal to the amount of equipped creatures we control. Long explanation, but this goes in those decks, and this allows you to untap the land, right, with your Sword of Feast and Famine and your Bear Umbra effects, meaning that all of the creatures you cast on your additional second main phase, you can now sacrifice another land and gain haste. Again, very niche, but also in the strategies that you would put this in, it's amazing. And also you could almost put this in any red deck. Honestly, I probably would just put this in any red deck just for the added ability of haste. It's a super broken mechanic. When you need it, and now you can just have it on a land. I love it. Just go ahead and cut a mountain and throw this in, and your deck's just going to be better out of the gate. Othros Titanic God Core. Now, the alternate card of this was so good it got banned. So let's look at it. This is the one that allows you to station for 12, and then you can pay 1 blue and add blue for each artifact you control. Absolutely insane. There's a ton of ways to generate a ton of treasure tokens, a ton of clue tokens, a ton of artifact creatures, and then once you have a construct on the battlefield, a construct has its power equal to the amount of artifacts you control, so it's probably not even hard to tap one construct to crew this up to +12, and then you're adding it mana to your mana pool equal to the amount of artifacts you control. So 12/12 construct, 12 mana to your mana pool. In your storm strategies or artifact based strategies, throw this in the deck, cut an island. Again, your deck just got better. Kind of insane here. Now the white one kind of did get screwed here in white fashion in Commander, right? Actually, it's been getting some really good cards recently, but the history of white has been, it's always been bad as Commander, and that's just not true anymore. But for anybody who's been playing Commander for a long time, they're going to be used to white getting screwed, and they kind of did get screwed here. All of the other lands, you could easily cut like a forest and put them in, and then it's instantly going to make your deck better. But the problem is with the white one, you do need to be playing a specific strategy. This one is crew 12, and then you pay 4. It's also the most expensive too. And then you get to create a token that's a copy of target artifact or enchantment you control, except it's a legendary. Activate this only at sorcery speed. So you can double up on all of your really broken artifacts and enchantments, but again, it is going to be a super specific strategy that wants this. I will say though, you can double up on your token doublers with this. You will have to sack the legendary, but just having 2 token doublers is kind of insane. And also, we are in white, so enchantment strategies are vast, and there's a lot of cards that do some really busted things that you would put in enchantment strategies. Most of them involve you creating a board state whenever you cast an enchantment, so having 2 of those would be massive for the strategy. And then again, it does untap, so if you do have Bear Umbra effects to untap this, and then you're creating more Bear Umbras, because you can do that now, this can just get pretty insane, and it does cause you to overwhelm your board state with a bunch of broken enchantments, and enchantment strategies are already known for doing that, so it is just going to upgrade any of those enchantment decks that want this. Cut a planes, put this in, and boom, you made your deck better. That's going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think about Edge of Eternity so far. There's going to be some insane new cards coming, I'm sure, but these ones are just the ones that were just blatant to me. Like, oh my gosh, you could put this in any aggro deck, any deck that wants to storm off, any deck that's running a planes. You know, these cards are so flexible. I could see them upgrading a plethora of decks, so I just wanted to make a video about them. With that being said, guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys enjoy your day.